This is going to be your guide for using Pincurchin in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Fun fact, you may not know about Pincurchin, but it's actually usable. I picked this little guy up recently, and it works, which is something that you wouldn't think about this Pokemon just looking at its stats. And I could go on a long rant about what Game Freak did to Pincurchin. Game Freak will design Toxapex, but they won't give Pincurchin stats. Game Freak will make Tapu Koko, but they won't give Pincurchin stats. Game Freak will give an evolution to Corsola, and we can get the idea. So yeah, Pincurchin's stats are pretty bad. Like, a good thing for Pincurchin is there's actually Pokemon in the National Dex that do less damage and are more frail. So that makes it slightly more usable, huh? But that 48 hit points is almost unforgivable. And when I first saw Pincurchin through, like, the data mine, and as the, like, Generation 8 Dex was starting to be more and more understood, I didn't think it was, like, a direct Galarian Quillfish, but I was thinking about it like, oh, it looks like they're trying to make a more viable Quillfish or something like that, or maybe it could get an evolution, and then that ended up not happening. Like, if this had Eviolite, it would be a really interesting kind of counterpart to something like the Corsola, but it isn't. This is what we have. So 48 hit points, not good. 101 attack, usable, kinda. And then 95 on the defense, 85 on the special defense. 91 special attack is also another interesting one, but we do have the electric surge ability, and this is effectively what saves the Pokemon, because you can set terrain, which either gives you bonus damage, or also makes it to where you can kind of do some shenanigans in doubles, and that is where we are going to be beginning our little moveset guide. So I'm using Pincurchin in doubles right now, and it's actually been pretty fun, because you have a surprising amount of damage, and you can survive a hit. So max hit point investment, max attack investment, some super effective hits you'll just take, and then most even just like powerful hits, max moves and stuff, you'll barely survive. That's kind of all you need. Unfortunately, 15 speed, that's not, that you're never outspeeding anything unless Trick Room is active, but that also makes it a good anti-Trick Room Pokemon, and then you can kind of screw over the opponent's strategies as well, which we will get into. So overall, the idea is you take a hit, and then you just provide damage support. The Zing Zap that's coming in under that Electric Surge is going to have bonus damage, it's going to have stab, and it's going to be pretty nice. And then we have surprising coverage. So Poison Jab, super effective against fairies and grass-type Pokemon. I'll take that. Liquidation, super effective against a lot of others as well. So I mean, it has that Urchin feel, but just pure electric. So kind of like Grapple Locked, that the theme isn't represented fully by the typing. Like, you would expect electric water out of the Pincurchin, but we don't have it. And since it's not really that offensive of a Pokemon, I guess we'll just take it for what it is. Electric only has one weakness in the ground. That's really good. So you just come in, liquidation, you have it, and then you can run a couple of things here. Sucker Punch, it's good to have the priority. It does some damage. You need to breed it on, so I was too lazy to breed Sucker Punch onto my Pincurchin. Then we can kind of go through. I'm running Throat Chop right now, just because it is tech, and it also gets Assurance. So I mean, if you are going to be moving last, your allied Pokemon hits it, and then Pincurchin comes in with the Assurance, and the power doubles if the target was damaged this turn, and we even have the Payback. Now, the thing is, if it's going to be anti-Trick Room, Payback and Assurance lose damage, so it's mostly going to be, like, weird coverage stuff. So there's actually not really, like, a right or wrong answer. It just kind of, sometimes you're gonna have the right move, and sometimes you're gonna have the wrong move, but that's okay. So looking at the item options, Electric Seed just makes the most sense. Pincurchin comes in, Electric Surge, Electric Seed activates automatically, and then defense is raised by one stage. I don't believe in the Terrain Extender, because the opponent could just bring in a Surge Pokemon, the opponent could just use a max move and wipe out your terrain, so I'd rather get some extra benefit, either for Pincurchin directly, or do some Seed Cheese like this, and then get a little bit more tanky. So against physical attackers that aren't throwing down ground-type moves, you'll actually be like a 3-hit KO Pokemon, and that makes you frustrating. And in doubles, they're going to have to choose, do they eventually deal with this damage threat Pincurchin? Yeah, it actually becomes a damage threat, or other weird things happening in the battle, so that's pretty cool. As much as I hate myself for saying this, because I think Expert Belt is a noob trap item, it's one of the worst items in the game, the weirdness of Generation 8 means that there's like some niche Pokemon in some situations where it's like, Expert Belt works on this Pokemon because of our coverage. We're hitting a lot of super effective hits, and with doubles, there's two opponents, so it's also more likely they might be weak to one of our hits, and we need to get as much damage as possible out of the attack. So Could work. Brave Nature, that way you pretty much underspeed any Pokemon in a Trick Room, so that makes it kind of interesting. However, me, personally, right now, I am going for the Focus Band, because Focus Band is a meme. 10% chance that you survive, so it's a 10% chance I go from a 2-hit KO Pokemon to a 3-hit KO Pokemon, and maybe get a decisive amount of damage, or a KO that can change the game. But that's another thing about Pincurchin, like, the Seed can work on this Pokemon, but you can still get blown up by special attacks. So it's like, you're kind of free to do whatever you want with the item, and that's nice, because you're not trying to take this Pokemon too seriously. It's just coverage, damage, and it's sitting in there being annoying and maybe removing the opponent's surges. So one thing that's really popular that we see right now is going to be Psychic Surge. That Psychic Surge means you can't get faked out, so it sets up the Trick Room really well, and that's going to be seen on the Indeedee, but Pincurchin's slower. So Indeedee comes in, Psychic Surge happens, and then Pincurchin is going to get rid of that. And that's why I'm also thinking we can do some funny things with the Oranguru. So since Psychic Surge activates first, if you want to do Oranguru Pincurchin Trick Room shenanigans, what you want to do is you want to give Pincurchin the Psychic Seed. So Psychic Seed is going to activate off the Indeedee, and then Symbiosis from the Oranguru is going to pass the Electric Seed, and then you set the Electric, and now you get +1 defense, +1 special defense. It's the dumbest, cheesy thing. I'm not saying it's a super viable strat, but the anti-terrain shenanigans opens this door, and it would be funny if you actually pulled that and then styled on the opponent and won with it. So that's something that you can run. Looking at some of the other things that Pincurchin gets access to, maybe Game Freak was scared of this Pokemon. That's the only other thing I can think of, because it gets Recover. So if it had any more tankiness, more health, more defenses, amnesia or iron defense, then we're actually looking at a Pokemon with reliable recovery. And if it just gets a little bit of an in, if the opponent sets up for a turn, or if they don't have a high damaging Pokemon, or you set up harder than them, then Pincurchin could actually like sweep or do something terrifying like that. And yeah, that would be kind of weird. So we have Recover, which means if we can survive, if we can catch the opponent in like a stall or with their pants down or doing something weird. Also, like Electric Surge is kind of the main thing to run on this Pokemon, because that way you don't get put to sleep. So some kind of cheesy like Hypnosis, even though we don't really see that too much, it's mostly just going to be Compound Eyes, Sleep Powder, Butterfree. The Electric Surge is also good tech in singles. So now we're into singles movesets, by the way. So it's also like one of those things where it's like, well, if that's threatening your team, Pincurchin, it can set up, it can maybe accomplish something in the battle, but it can also prevent sleep from happening, and it can power up your other Electric-type Pokemon. So Pincurchin with a Bolthound is also a pretty good option, but if we're looking at just Pincurchin trying to carry by itself, small chance it can do that. So Curse against defensive threats, that's why we want to max out our special defense, max out our defense. We can boost our defense, so this number isn't going anywhere. This number is going to keep getting bigger and bigger, so depending on the Pokemon you're setting up against, that's pretty nice. And then Citrus Berry, so it's like Curse, Citrus Berry activates, Curse, Recover, and then you just spam Acupressure until you get all the stats you ever want. You might get some offenses, you might get that special defense. Hey, you know what'd be pretty cool? Evasion. You can pull that on Acupressure as well. So that's kind of it. Like, you curse into defensive threats. You pray for, like, if you just double your special defense once, recover, acupressure, you just cycle that forever, and then you can eventually win. That's why we have Sucker Punch. It's priority. So you can just kind of run that damage, but actually one problem to take into consideration right here, only 8 PP, so even at +6, Sucker Punch isn't going to be KOing everything, and that's why we want to go for the Payback. Payback has more PP, it also gets more damage, so while it would be cool to get like +6 on Curse and then one-shot everything on Sucker Punches, it doesn't work that way. Our 101 attack, uninvest at +6, non-stab, well, I just said a lot of negative things, so you can kind of see where that's going. You just want to do as much damage as possible, so more damage on the Payback, more PP, and everything is going to be faster than you anyways. So that's where we could also look at a nature that's minus speed just to kind of secure that. And it means Gyro Ball does less damage to you as well. So yeah, you don't have to worry about anything crazy like that happening. And then we have complete meme Pincurchin. Effectively, same idea, max hit points, maybe do a little bit more. Okay, things just got wonky. Maybe do a little bit more special defense into that. Let's do level 50 to make sure our EVs are correct. Because there's going to be some EV spreads that work at level 100 that don't work at level 50. And level 50 is going to be the standard battling thing. So that's the thing to consider. So yeah, do something like that with the defensive nature. Since we do have to worry about the defensive ones more. You know, something like that. We don't have that curse for the guarantee. Actually, I'd probably put more special defense. So something like that is also possible. Find a spread that makes you feel comfortable, and then effectively the same idea, except it's all acupressure, no curse. Rest, sleep talk, electric seed, we can use this as well. So you can put another citrus berry here, just to kind of like guarantee your setup. Get like 2 acupressures before you're forced into your first rest, hopefully. Electric seed guarantees your defense. So if we're doing that, then doesn't this look familiar? No, you can run something like that. Maybe even if you are going electric seed, then you want a special defensive nature as well. Sassy's going to be minus speed. So now you're coming in, you're going to have like 170-ish defense, 150-ish on the special defense, and then 155 on the hit points. So acupressure, rest, sleep talk, and then pray you keep rolling acupressures, and then eventually you might like wake up as a tanky Pokemon. Then acupressure, rest, sleep talk, acupressure. Meme it up, guys. You can do something with this, and it could be hilarious. And then eventually you pray for the +4, you pray for the +6, and then payback. And then you start killing fools. So that is going to be pretty much how it goes with the Pincurchin. Look at the damage calculators. This is why I like it in doubles, because it just kind of hurts things. And the expert belt would kind of show that, yo, like super effective hits against certain Pokemon would convert into KOs, even though you're not looking for the KO damage. And even if you just run like 4 offensive move Pincurchin in singles, Assault Vest can work on this Pokemon as well. I'm currently not using it because I already have another Assault Vest Pokemon, which is why it's just kind of like a free item kind of Pokemon. So you can do some fun stuff with it. It still has damage, so it can just be like a reliable thing. Like you take hits and then you deal hits back, and it can, you know, at least maybe slow down the opponent trying to snowball against you while having potential coverage or potential super effective hits. So the Gengar, that's a thing. Dragapult, it's a bit more tanky than the Gengar, but even if we have like an expert belt on top of that, no, that's kind of solid. And where would the stealth rocks go? So we got almost 50% chance to one-hit KO after stealth rocks. So I think that's another thing about the Pincurchin, is that if you're running it, might be worth it to throw out a stealth rocks. I'm against expert belt, I'm against stealth rocks, but when you're running a Pokemon like this, you kind of need every little edge that you can get. So that's like, oh, that's kind of fancy that, you know, we survive a hit from the Dragapult and then we KO it after all of this setup and everything going right. But that's Pincurchin matching a Dragapult, so that's kind of cool in some situations. The Zing Zap, also, I have it like already applied for the, oh wait, we need to turn off electric terrain, I think. Because the electric terrain on this counts as 50%, but electric terrain was actually nerfed from 50% bonus damage to 30% bonus damage in Pokemon Sword and Shield. So that's kind of how we're looking at with the Pokemon. Then we can look at something, I want to look at something Toxpexy. So that way we can just kind of see, you know, with that electric terrain, we have damage, even if it is going to be something else. And that's why we run the expert belt. Like, would you ever imagine the day where full defensive Toxpex just gets one shot so simply? Pincurchin has some surprises like that. Actually, never mind. They tried to pull sneaky on me by bringing that electric back in. But like, overall, you do the damage. And there's one thing to take note of, that stab plus electric terrain is 1.95 times more damage. So Zing Zap is slightly less damage neutral than a super effective hit. So the super effective hits still work as long as 80 base power. So like Sucker Punch is going to be less than the Zing Zap, but if you need the priority, that's a thing. Poison Jab, it comes in on the damage. We can look at a Pokemon like the Sylveon, and it's like 2-hit KOs. Expert Belt, still a 2-hit KO without it. So that's what it means. Like, you kind of have a free slot against super frail, unbulk invested Pokemon. Yeah, then like you can use Expert Belt to have a chance to one-shot them, or like, you know, if there's like a little bit of chip damage, you follow it up with a Rock Slide. Power Spot, Stone Joiner in doubles could also make Pincurchin scarier than it needs to be by just multiplying those extra damage numbers and stuff onto it. So we got some fanciness going on here with these Pokemon. And I think that's kind of it. You know, I was trying, I'm using it, I'm having fun. It's just a little bit of a damage threat, and I think it's got more usage than people would expect. Desperately needed Nuzzle, didn't get it, so maybe we'll keep an eye on it. Maybe get some like really sick tutor moves, as that happens with the Isle of Armor, or something comes up, and if Game Freak buffs in future generations, could actually be pretty good. So you guys, enjoy the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.